Hey guys, welcome back to World of Warships. Today we are taking a look at the Almirante Grau again. I took a look at this ship recently thanks to the heal buffs, and having a ship like this one with such a ridiculous combat instruction, it's minus 66% reload time, so nearly a 3x DPM increase while the combat instructions are up. Absolutely ridiculous. A light cruiser like that, getting a heal was pretty cool. Now we're taking a look at it as it is available again. Very interesting ship to take a look at here in the Summer Festival Sunset Bundles. I know I'm doing a lot of these. We'll get into some free-to-play tech tree ships, I think, after this, because we've taken a look at almost exclusively doubloon ships, and I'm a little tired of it. Let's go back to some of the actual free content in the game. However, today we will still have some fun with Grau, as this is one of the most unique ships in the game. It's a ship that does not want to use its damage output all the time. In fact, you are massively punished for using these guns all the time, as we will see later on. It is so much worse to play Grau as just a DPM farmer and never really focusing on these combat instructions. On this map, I did end up on a flank where I had to play a little open water against some of the battleships and cruisers here, but you notice our concealment allowing me to consistently farm up this combat instruction. If you're not aware, this combat instruction is based on remaining undetected. So this is why using your DPM all the time, no matter what, is typically going to be a bad thing with the Grau, because you will be missing out on this combat instruction. Assuming you're able to stay dark for like a minute, you can then have 30 seconds of minus 66% reload. Well worth the trade, in my opinion, as this not only helps us to stay alive in these up tiers, remaining undetected, of course, but also allows us to burst out some near tier 10 level damage figures. Our base DPMs are like 147,000 HE DPM, 205,000 AP DPM. The AP, though, is not that impressive. It's got low pen, it does not have improved pen angles, anything like that, so we're sticking with HE a lot of the time anyway. But as soon as we pop this reload booster at combat instruction, we boost up to like over 400,000 HE DPM, so suddenly much more respectable for a tier 10 level of light cruiser. Now, we have some conditions on that. Of course, we're not getting that all the time, but it is very useful to have that situational burst fire on a ship that is at tier 8. Now, if we got a game against tier 6s, it is even crazier. This ship is really fun because it forces you to play differently. It is a different experience to basically everything else we have in the game. Almost nothing is rewarded for not shooting all the time. Most ships are rewarded for shooting almost on cooldown. So I really find that interesting, and you'll notice the damage we can burst even into a Henry at this tier, allowing us to maybe clear out this flank. Now, it's an expensive ship, okay? 13,300 doubloons. It's not cheap to get into these sunset bundles in the summer festival. Quite a few good ships available: Rhode Island, Cambridge, Tsurugi, Royal Sovereign. I've taken a look at a lot of these ships already. This is the more interesting side, the sunset bundles, in my opinion, relative to the sunrise ones that we had like last week and 2 weeks ago, something like that. A lot of good options here, but if I was to spend a little bit of money on this event, this is a more unique ship. This is not the most powerful ship available. I think that probably goes to Rhode Island pretty clearly, but it's also extremely expensive. 13,300 doubloons for a unique experience. I think that is rather interesting. Now, a lot of the cuts here you're seeing are based on me just sailing around waiting for my combat instructions to come back up. But I do want to point out that you don't have to just not shoot your guns to charge these combat instructions. It's not about not shooting your guns, it's about staying undetected. So if we're able to find island cover, which is not the easiest on this map, shall we say, but there are maps where it is totally possible for you as a light cruiser to find islands that are completely covering you, maybe a teammate with a smoke, that kind of thing, keeping you undetected while firing your guns the whole time. Then you can just use the base DPM, which is not that impressive, while still farming up progress towards these combat instructions. And that is ideal. That is what we're trying to get access to. So here, Yamato pushing in. Notice we don't have our combat. I mean, even audio-wise, it's a pretty massive difference in the gun sounds, isn't it? We need to be getting these combat instructions, but it is possible if you can play the right positions and you get good maps for it. where you can farm these combat instructions up while also still using your DPM. That's the goal, of course, but if we can't find situations like that, sometimes we're stuck on open water maps. Sometimes we're in situations where there are just not good islands relative to where the enemy teams are. Destroyers spotting your flank, carrier spotting is a pretty big example of unwanted detection with this ship. Fortunately, the AA here is pretty strong for a tier 8 cruiser, and we have a defensive fire too, allowing us with our 6.9 kilometer AA range to be mostly a no-fly zone. Carriers aren't likely to go after you, which is important considering our gimmick is completely reliant on staying undetected. So it's nice to have that level of AA power. Notably, our ASWs are a little worse. We don't have plane-based ASWs, so pretty useless there. We're really relying on our teammates in those scenarios. Grau does not have any armor, though, okay? And that is usually not a good thing, but in certain situations, no armor is actually better in World of Warships. If you haven't seen this technology before, if you go flat broadside at close range to battleships that do not have short fuses, that do not have SAP, that aren't shooting HE, the AP is just going to overpen. The cruiser, however, got a Citadel. So we can't just do that against every ship, but the Yamato only got the overpens. The Kronstadt did get, I believe, a Citadel into us there, so we took a little bit more damage in that way. Hipper as well, got to be a little careful of that. Smaller caliber AP is going to do that a lot less, but against the Yamato at these ranges, yeah, you can just go flat broadside on. I wouldn't recommend it all the time, but in a pinch, we can get away with that. Now, this game has spiraled out of control just a little bit. I was hoping that I could get one more reload booster, the combat instructions off, but we got to 80% and the Hipper spots us. So we are going to go down. I don't think we have the DPM to actually trade out this Hipper. If I had that combat instruction available, I do think we end up killing this Hipper pretty easily, as the DPM difference is absolutely ridiculous. But still, a pretty respectable game for tier 10 and a map where we kind of had to play a little bit more open water. It did not feel very comfortable with Grau, I will say, but it was certainly interesting. And this is a bit of an outlier, right? We're not always getting tier 10 games. And a lot of the time we are going to get access to maps where we can just sit behind islands a little bit easier. Moving on into a down tier game where it's a lot better. It is certainly a lot better. When do you want to burst fire? Usually it's on cooldown, but there are times where I will consider hanging on to it. A situation like this where Massachusetts is pushing into us as a team, maybe we could save it to try and guarantee some fires into them. Notice in these clips here, I am using IFHE. I've been on a bit of a kick of trying out IFHE again. It's pretty expensive commander skill-wise to get it, but it does allow us to pen 32 millimeters of armor, which is important as that's what battleships have, bow, stern at these tiers, as well as certain battleships, their upper belts and deck armor is still all 32 millimeters, and that allows us to get a lot of full pen damage. Our damage is often based on the full pens, right? Consider that we don't have a very good sustained DPM. That's what you're generally looking for to use fires, okay? Fires are something that you can't really rely on that easily. And when we have such a situational burst, in this case, trying to use it to get permanent fires on the Massachusetts can work. But to really guarantee a lot of fire damage, we want good sustained pressure on an enemy battleship so that when they do use their damage control, we have that ability to relight the fire quickly, rather than maybe we can if we have our F key available, and if we don't, well then yeah, you can tell the massive difference in our damage output and our consistency there. We need to rely on that quite a bit. Also worth noting that we are running this ship with Lisboa. So Grau is a Pan-American ship, and Lisboa is the special commander for the Pan-Americans, who has many benefits. When you get enough main gun hits, main gun and secondary hits, you get a small reload buff, which is nice, but we're not getting there that quickly with this ship, right? We're focused more on this burst and this consumable or this combat instruction, which he also gives us a bonus for, okay? This is really important with this ship as it's a time-based one, remaining undetected, so it's a direct DPM buff to run Lisboa. After using our combat instructions for the second time, you will get a permanent 20% progress that is unlosable. So even if we do farm up half of these combat instructions and then we get detected for a long period of time, we start to lose that progress, it'll just bottom out at 20%. Notice we just ran out of using our combat instructions and it starts at 20%. That's really powerful. It cuts off basically 10 seconds from us actually needing to stay undetected to use our combat instructions again. It's really important because there's a lot of accidental spotting that you're not anticipating in this game. So it allows us to more consistently get access to the F key, which of course is the entire playstyle of this ship. It is a 50-second duration that you have to stay undetected for. I think I might have said 60 seconds earlier. It's somewhere in that minute as far as vibes go that I remember. It's quite a while that you have to remain undetected to actually farm up this progress. 50 seconds is what it takes, and so cutting off a full 10 seconds required, 40 seconds is a lot more. I mean, that's like a Vermont salvo, right? Like if you're used to playing a battleship, sometimes you're gonna have situations where you're not doing much for 40 seconds, you're waiting. Now, that is not the light cruiser playstyle, but in this case, that's not so bad. It feels a lot better once we have that activated. And you'll notice that a lot of the time with Grau, I'm going to use the combat instructions in the very start of the game. That way I get one progress towards that Lisboa buff that's going to give me a permanent 20% on this combat instruction the second time I use it. Usually, you can get away with that, where in the first 50 seconds, you use it once, and then it should be back up by the first engagement, right? We then would see it at like the 2.5 minute mark, something like that. And by then, you're likely to not have seen that many ships yet. So it's well worth using it off the spawn if you have Lisboa. Otherwise, if you don't have Lisboa, then you're not getting that benefit. So you may as well save it for maybe that destroyer engagement early on. Oftentimes, that's what I'm looking for, right? It's a bit of that Zao playstyle from back in the day. I mean, Venezia does it better, of course, with SAP these days, but anything without a radar that has really good burst damage, Austin, of course, comes to mind as well. It's a bit like a tier 8 Austin in a way. We don't have SAP, of course, but the DPM difference going from no combat instructions or reload booster in Austin's case to having the reload booster active is so extreme that it feels a little bit like Austin. So if you enjoy Austin at all, this could be one to look at, or if you enjoy Grau, Austin could be one to look at getting for yourself. Damage output was pretty bad into the West Virginia 41 when we didn't have the combat instruction, as now we do. He goes down pretty quickly. It's a really fun ship, very situational, and requires you to play so differently, which I think is really interesting, though it is still very expensive. All right, we're playing a little greedy into this one. We got ourselves a full down tier, so that's a little bit why. We have a full tier 6 to 8 game here on a very good map for us to potentially do some farming while remaining undetected. So I've pushed up to this island. I'm waiting to see if there's going to be a DD fight in the middle here. It doesn't look like it. So what I think we're going to do is just chill behind this island and get ready to farm these guys as they maybe push in. There is going to be like a Royal Sovereign to worry about. If he's pushing down the one line, we could be in some trouble. Let's see. Do we get lit here? We do not. Oh, we do. We do. Okay, he is going to push the one line. That is priority number one, guys. That's priority number one. It's a lot of secondaries. We looked at that one rather recently. It's a very good ship. We're probably also going to lose our destroyer in the middle here, which is quite bad for us, I would say. So what we need to do, I think, is turn around. I would love to sit here and farm, but this island is not good if the enemy team pushes here. If they were all in the middle and not pushing the one line with this Royal Sovereign, then I would consider it much more so. But in this case, no, I think we want to head back to where our Borodino is. Notice how our team is mostly back here and back here. This is a ship, right? This is a hit and run style ship, right? Like we need to time where we position, time our reload booster as well. So patience, a little patience required. Interestingly, the Royal Sovereign is turned away, so we're okay for now. Fubuki has been lit, and it's just so important to get the destroyer taken out here. I think he's going for the cap, or the buff rather. So we will reload boost him. He's using his smoke to go dark, very smart. And unfortunately, I think he will get away with that. So pretty rough, including all our guys dying. That's not the start we're looking for. Oh no. But there is our nice buff from Lisboa. We get our permanent 20% progress. And now maybe we're going to farm this Royal Sovereign. This is a situation where we're just kind of waiting for the right ships to get spotted and then farm them down. Here we are going to go, although we get lit. Oh, that's really interesting. Wonder what they could be lighting me from. Is the Fubuki really wide, or did he push through our middle? Or maybe this island just wasn't covering me. That's a possibility too. Unfortunately, Endrock does go undetected here. Ah, there's the Fubuki. Our Borodino is going to full charge into the flank where we are clearly outnumbered, so I'm not so sure about that. I feel like I'm going to lose him as support here rather soon. Not my best reload booster, so maybe I should have considered that the Endracht would have gone dark there. In this case, though, I think I can farm Royal Sovereign. Yeah, and Borodino instantly dies. That's really bad. See, if he had played back here with me, the Torps wouldn't have got to him, right? And he could have been doing some spotting for us while we got some really good damage in. There could have been some nice synergy there. So I'm going to wait behind this island to get my buff, and I'm going to push out and hope that I can maybe take out this Numancia. We can kind of isolate a fight because these guys will be behind this island from me. Ramat will also be behind an island, and Numancia here is not looking our way. And we have our booster ready, so I think I should be able to burst him out, hopefully. That would be really nice. He's broadside enough that maybe I should go to the AP, although, wow, his detection is really nice. I was wondering if we would get the fire. We indeed do, so that will continue to allow us to burst a ton of damage into him. We just got to aim. 5k left. 800, and I think we get him. Nice. And now we run away because our Royal Sovereign is continuing to push here, is my guess. Oh my goodness, you are going to shoot. Well, we don't have our boost, but I think it is well worth it to fire here at this Fubuki. Yeah, we'll take him out. Okay. We have done our best on this flank and managed to pull it back a little bit here. We've acquired our buff again, so I'm interested in maybe taking a fight with the Royal Sovereign and Endracht, especially because Endracht is very low on HP, as we can tell. So maybe getting into a burst fight there where we take him out and then run away again so that the Royal Sovereign can't get a hold of us might be interesting. Ah, there's the Kutuzov. I was wondering. So pushing back in, we have managed to find a nice little flank here where Kutuzov wasn't maybe expecting us. And the damage we'll get here is pretty good. I hope it's enough to help our New Orleans and Kagero live. We're not going to get the full booster here. We're going to miss about half of it. But we helped to take out like half of his remaining HP. Maybe that's enough. Kagero does go down though, unfortunately. I didn't end up running into these guys. Now, there was a buff here that was just taken by someone on the enemy team. So I'm expecting that to maybe be the cruiser that went back there. No, Royal Sovereign's not that fast. And indeed, it was the cruiser because there's Endracht planes. I don't have my buff right now, but I'm okay with taking that fight still because I think he'll be low. They do have a heal buff though, so perhaps not. I also want to get into this engagement again on Kutuzov to help our New Orleans. Maybe the... Ah, nice. There we go. There's Endracht. So 12,000 HP. I think we can help enough on that. We have enough damage normally, if I can actually lead. I don't know where the Royal Sovereign is, though, so that's my concern. As well as maybe NC could have a shot on us. That would be a little bit worrisome. We popped our Hydro. Kutuzov was torping us, but notice I'm not going to push out from behind this island just yet. We want to isolate the 1v1 here, right? We take the fight with Endracht, and then once that's dealt with, we'll go for Kutuzov. No point in staying at full speed and getting ourselves caught in like a 2v1 or something like that. Pretty basic, but these little things allow you to win a lot of games, especially with Grau and its playstyle of this sort of bursty engagement with this, well, burst fire. Oh, and we get shot at by Royal Sovereign from back there, I believe. Our team has done a great job on the other side, cleaned up the enemy team. So now it's just this Kutuzov to deal with. Perhaps he has AP, so let's be a little wary to angle here. Interesting to not have our buff here at the end of this arms race game, but that's kind of what happens. You're forced to play towards the center cap, and then it's hard to remain undetected for long enough periods of time. I do think that, wow, again, okay. That's why I was kind of wondering about slowing down here. I do think that Lisboa is helping us out a lot to get this buff again. Perhaps would have got it anyway. But that permanent 20% progress is a big deal on this ship. Yeah, there you are. Could probably go AP, but I think it's worth just sticking with the HE. Now, do I use my booster? I don't think I need it. I don't think I need it. This is really greedy, but I want to save it to maybe get a little more damage into the Royal Sovereign. Although it does seem like it might be too greedy. Wow, we lost a lot of HP there. I was thinking maybe my teammates would have some more damage there. I also put my front guns behind the island. Yeah, I should have used it, okay? Mistakes were made. That's okay, that's okay. It's always a bit of a challenge. How greedy do you get in holding this booster? If we live, it was worth it. Come on. Give me the damage now into this Royal Sovereign, please. Counterpoint, though. What if we just stay dark long enough to cap this out, which was enough to get my combat instructions again? I should have used it. That was bad. Don't be like me. You want to use it, okay? You want to use it. I've had too many times with these arms race games where I use it and then I really regret it. And these late arms race games, because again, you're forced to play so close. But I really should have just used it there. There he is. Send it. Send the guns. All right, he's on a lot of HP, but how much can we burst through? It's a lot of damage, guys. It's a lot of damage. I don't want to use AP here because I think his upper belt is thick enough that we're not actually going to get full pens on him. The AP is that sort of anemic, I guess we could say. But there's a pretty much full reload booster into him. We get multiple fires on him. And quite a bit of damage. What were we on? Like mid-80s? And now we're in mid-120s? Pretty good, pretty good. Certainly a lot easier when you're playing this ship into the full down tier than the tier 10 game, okay? We can have games where we're playing against tier 10s and we can try to make it work. It's an interesting ship to play. I think that's what it comes down to. This ship is just very, very interesting playstyle-wise. It's so different from everything else. I don't want to necessarily beat up on the lower tier ones, but I also don't want to be in the tier 10 up tiers all the time. Fighting its own tier, I think, is perfectly reasonable, and it's very, very good into its own tier. So very excited to see Grau come back. This one, it's one of the first ones I thought of course, when it came to this heal buff that these mid-tier cruisers were getting. Here's the build that I was running. Notice we're going a full conceal here. You know me, recently with my cruisers, I have been trying out swapping my concealment mod for steering gears mod. I've been really enjoying this as we go from a 9.6 kilometer detect only up to 10.7. That's still very comfortable, I would say, but we gain massive amounts of maneuverability. 5.5 second rudder feels great. However, Grau is all about this F key. So on basically every other cruiser, I would make that trade all the time. Maybe if I had a stealth radar and I really wanted to take advantage of that in particular, then I wouldn't either. But with this combat instruction basically requiring us to stay undetected, there's a lot of maps where it's just open. Even with good island cover, there's just a lot of open areas that sometimes you're forced to fight in. So having the full conceal build, I think, is worthwhile here. Build-wise, outside of that, not going heavy HE and SAP, because again, that makes our concealment worse. Do we want 10% more HE damage, or would we rather get our combat instructions, a 66% reload boost for 30 seconds more often? The answer there for me is quite obvious into the reload booster. Top grade gunner, also interesting, but maybe less so, because the better our concealment, the less we're activating top grade gunner. We're wanting to play generally outside our detection. We don't want enemies within our detection range, right? So that's again why I'm not taking these as much. I enjoyed generally IFHE, I think, into your own tier and up tiers. It's really nice for guaranteeing the full pen damage into battleships. Like I mentioned, we're not as much of a consistent fire starter. We're a burst ship. We're not a sustained pressure fire spammer, witherer farmer. At least in my experience with this ship, I have not done as well trying to go for fires. So guaranteeing that we can full pen 32 millimeters, that's the major threshold. It of course gets us to 37, but the major threshold is 32, is worth it in my opinion. Now here's our armor. We do get 27 mil deck armor, but I mean, that's not that good these days, especially with only 25 everywhere else. It's not a very large ship. It's quite thin. It's where that overpen mechanic technology can come from. The Citadel is also waterline, except for the very middle. It's really hard to see, but you see how this slightly raises up? The UI doesn't do a great job of this, but I believe from here to here, there is an increased height on the Citadel. It's very strange. I don't know how angled it is. It's so hard to see, man. I wish they had this kind of like edge vertices shown on that part, but they do not, so it's hard to tell. But it's a difficult ship to Citadel. But it's a light cruiser, so it can still take a lot of damage. But we have the heals now. We got the heals, so it feels a lot better to play these days. Though I always found Grau to be very, very enjoyable to play, I'm very happy to see it back here. 13,300 doubloons. Not cheap, but again, I've said this a couple times about this event, and I'm going to keep repeating it because it's worth repeating to Wargaming, so the feedback is consistent. When we have direct purchase options, doubloons in particular, I'm going to be very happy, especially when they are not Admiral bundles, okay? You can have expensive ships in that regard. I think these are all very expensive ships still, but this to me is good monetization. Wargaming deserves to get paid for their product, okay? I'm not someone who thinks everything in the game should be free. I do not think that way. I am more than okay with this level of monetization. This version, if things are locked exclusively in this, even this version, Admiral bundles, we can do this. We can do this, Wargaming. This is a lot of money to spend still on the game, but I think this is the best way to do it. I'm very happy to see this sort of thing in this event. So that is my feedback. I think I've been pretty consistent about that, where I want to see direct purchase non-Admiral bundles. It's expensive still. It's not cheap, remember. Like, a AAA game these days, what, 70 bucks, 80 bucks, maybe more. I wait for Steam sales, okay? I wait for it to go under 30 bucks Canadian, but that's not the usual, right? So it's still expensive to buy these things outright, but I think it's fair. I think it's a fair price when it's direct purchase, doubloons, no Admiral bundle, no gambling shenanigans. Very good event. Let's get back to some free-to-play content, though. I've done enough of these doubloon heavy ships on the channel for a little while, so I'm excited to get back to that. Maybe have some suggestions in the comments down below. Thank you very much for watching, and have a great rest of your day.